Welcome to Retro Game Club Podcast, Season 6, Episode 7, which is also Episode 170. I am Rob, and joining me as always is Justin Bailey.
That's right. For some reason, people make a really big deal out of my name, and I don't know why.
Yeah, probably not millennials or Gen Z, though.
Probably not. Yeah, I don't know.
But Kotaku will probably write an article that it's something new that people discovered about Justin Bailey.
Yeah, they do that a lot. I remember they printed one about like a tip that's literally in the official hint book for Super Mario Brothers that Nintendo published, you know.
Was that the continue?
Here's the continue one, where it's like, it's in the Nintendo hint book. Like, this isn't a secret. Kotaku doesn't really write articles anymore, though. You know, they have like no staff there at this point.
Yeah, it's just all AI.
It's all, like, they were told, just write like how-to guides from now on.
Oh, man. I guess that's what makes money.
Yeah, I don't know. The parent company if you follow that whole saga, like the parent company that owns Kotaku and a bunch of other properties, like all they seem to do is run these websites into the ground.
Yeah. Yep. And lay everyone off. Like what was a fine business is now garbage. Mm-hmm. But what have you been up to?
Oh, hold on. I was busy looking at what was on Kotaku today, and it is indeed garbage that is possibly AI generated. Got a lot of stuff. We haven't recorded in a while. I saw something. Did you see the Jeff Minter collection? It's an Atari 50 style collection of Jeff Minter games.
Yeah, it's kind of a strange one. Compared to Atari 50, it's kind of strange.
Yeah, well, anything with Jeff Minter is kind of strange.
Yeah.
It looks interesting. I think I'm going to wait till it's on sale, though. Like, this is like not one where I'm going to go buy like a physical copy for $50 like I did with it. Well, Atari 50 wasn't $50, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, from what I heard is that it's pretty cool. It's not really up there with the Karateka, however you like to pronounce that thing. And that he has a documentary that either just came out or is coming out. And so some of the videos in the video game, like in this collection, seem incomplete. And people think it's because, you know, some licensing thing with the documentary coming out. Which I think, if all that's true, that's kind of BS. Like, both can exist.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it looked neat.
Yeah, it looks cool. I'm going to grab it for sure. But like you, I'll probably wait a little bit.
Yeah, I'll probably wait till it's like a $5 download or something. Gaming-wise, I've mostly been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I'm getting kind of to this place of feeling very mixed about the game. Like, there's an overworld exploration mode, which is fine. It's not as good as Breath of the Wild, but it's fine. The mini games, though, there's so many mini games, and there are segments of the game where playing mini games are mandatory.
I heard people are really into that Queen's Blood minigame, that card game, I think.
I don't even understand how to play it. It's maybe if you grew up playing like Magic or Pokemon card games, it's just like super obvious to you. Mm-hmm. But I look at it and it's like, I don't know. I'm just going to go buy, like there's a part in the game where you have to play it to progress. Mm-hmm. So like, I'm just going to buy the most expensive cards. And then I think I'll just win it.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And it's I really like the Trails of Cold Steel RPGs, and in parts 3 and 4 and part 5, although it's not called part 5, all have like the same card game in it, and I don't get that card game at all either. But that one, that card game just earns you like extra like bonus like powerful items. You don't have to like play it to advance the storyline.
Okay.
By my controversial opinion that will eventually earn me hate mail is that I think Muppets Party Cruise has vastly superior mini games to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
I have not played that one.
Muppets Party Cruise is, to me, like a complete sleeper Mario Party knockoff game.
Is that a Wii game?
It's a GameCube game, and it must be on PS2 also. It's great. To me, it's one of the best party games I've ever played. And I don't even mean that like snarkily. That's a legit statement. I did buy a Sega Saturn HDMI adapter the other day. Mm-hmm. because I was looking at reviews, and all the reviews were just by this cheapo one on AliExpress.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't hooked it up yet, though, but I'm going to do that. And then I was sort of like, I tend to buy a lot of like cheap one-off HDMI adapters like this, and I'm wondering if I should just buy like one $200 upscaler instead.
Yeah, get the RetroTink 4K and you're good to go.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I wonder if I should just do that because...
Except they don't exist because they are never in stock. I get the live notification, and by the time I get to the site, they're gone.
They're gone. Okay, well. Yeah, it's because I was thinking of upgrading the TV in my game room at some point because it's like 10 or 15 years old. And like I can't put like Roku on it or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I could plug a stick into it. It doesn't have like, apps and stuff. But if I upgrade the TV, my only options basically are TVs that only have HDMI ports.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes retro gaming a little more challenging.
Yep.
Let's see, I went to Midwest Gaming Classic yesterday. I don't know how much I'm going to talk about that. It was super, super packed. Really, really busy. The hot items seem to be mystery boxes. I guess there were some vendors
selling the worst.
Yeah, selling $50 mystery boxes. And like every person there was walking around with one of them. And the line to buy a mystery box was like wrapped around the vendor area.
It's a scam. No one ever wins whatever. No one gets the good mystery.
Well, yeah, a person, right? I suppose would, but I just assume it's a lot of overstock junk.
Those are carnies selling those. Mm-hmm. There's no prize.
There's no prize. Okay. No. Well, I didn't buy one because I thought it's gonna be a bunch of stuff I don't need. Mm-hmm. These boxes were huge, by the way. Yeah, I agree. I'm sure it's a scam. Not interested. But that was really the hot item. I was shocked how many people were walking around with those, and I'll say feedback, for some other time. I had a random question for you though. I was looking at it's kind of a rabbit hole topic. So let's get to the question. Mm-hmm. You like Sierra games. What's your opinion of Police Quest and Codename Iceman?
I played the first two Police Quests, and I think they're the weakest of the Quest games. Mm-hmm. The Williamses had a friend that was a cop. I think he was a friend. Well, he definitely helped with this game. And I don't know. I just didn't care about it because there's no like fantasy or sci-fi or anything in it.
Okay.
And Codename Iceman, I know that game. In fact, I remember when I ran BBS, I had it on there.
Okay.
But I don't remember that one. I don't remember actually playing it.
I think it's a lot. I believe it's the same composer as King's Quest for the soundtrack. And I thought it was developed more or less by the Police Quest team.
What brings these two games up?
I was listening to the soundtrack for Codename Iceman recently, and it made me realize it's a Sierra-style game that I haven't heard you mention before.
Yeah, no, I don't remember actually playing that one, which makes me want to go back and play it. I probably have it on Steam or GOG.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you've purchased it multiple times.
The Police Quest ones are kind of obtuse. Like, I mean, I guess that's very Sierra. Like, if there's some crazy guy whacked out on drugs or whatever, you have to arrest him safely and not have him harm himself or others. Okay. And like, there's a way where like he can drown or murder you or someone else. And I think I remember the way to actually apprehend him was a bit obtuse.
I would just claim I was Jesus and that he should follow me. Usually, but it's probably not an option in the game. So what have you been up to?
Well, finally found a house in Sydney, so been doing a lot of cleaning and selling and getting rid of stuff. And I hate selling things. Like, no. I would rather just take everything to a forest and burn it. Okay. Just because you have to like wait for people and just dealing with the people part. You know what I mean? No one has been bad, but it's just kind of annoying. Surprisingly, I'm having a hard time selling my Tron and Star Wars cab.
Okay.
I've only, I put them on Facebook and Nextdoor, but I don't know. I don't know if it's because like the 1UP cabs exist now or...
Yeah. Those are both on 1UP cabs.
or people just that craze is over, the cabinet collecting craze is over. I don't know. But I see other ones in similar condition sell on Facebook, so who knows? Maybe I have a bad reputation.
Yeah,
You never know.
or maybe the only people in your area who want the cabinet bought it in those listings you saw.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's see. I tried Crisis Core, and I did not care about it at all. There was
All right.
nothing wrong with it. I just didn't care.
Didn't care. Okay.
And it was around the time where like they made some joke that would have been for like a kid, like, "Oh, is she your girlfriend?" or something like
Okay.
that. And I was
Yeah.
just like, "Oh, I can't with
Okay.
this."
So one joke ended the game for you. Okay.
But and also I don't know, the gameplay, it was fine. I just didn't feel like playing it. I think. Did you play that one?
Yeah, I think I recommended it to you. Actually, I think it's funny. The more I play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, like the more I wish it was Crisis Core. Like I like Crisis Core so much more than Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think part of it is like Crisis Core mostly takes place in Midgar, and I like that setting better than the rest of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
And I just like the lead character. The lead character is just much better than the lead character of Final Fantasy VII proper. Being that he has like a personality at all.
Yeah, Cloud, I don't understand the obsession with Cloud. He is a dud.
He is, yeah. I mean, I realize he's like supposedly severely brain damaged, spoiler alert. But he's not really an interesting character. Because you're right, there's just nothing going on there.
I agree, yeah. I'm there for the Tifa. That's why I play those games. But I tried the first Dragon's Dogma because a lot of people have been talking about the second one, and it was fine. Again, I didn't care. I do want to play the new one, but we will wait till I move. I also tried Chia. Did you try this game?
I haven't even heard of it.
It's it won some awards. It takes place in New Caledonia, which is a South Pacific island nation, and
You're going to be a lot closer to that soon.
yeah, and it's just like a 2-3 hour flight, and it was a pretty game, but the gameplay was kind of boring. The story wasn't bad, but so I bounced off 3 games. But do you know the game Sleeping Dogs?
Yeah, I think you sent me an email about it.
Yeah, not to be confused with Watch Dogs. Both those games are GTA likes, and it was fantastic. It was a lot of fun. It takes place in Hong Kong. You are part of the triads, I think,
Okay.
but working for the cops because they forced you to. It was really good. I think this game could use a sequel. I really liked it. Definitely suggested it. They played great on the Steam Deck. And again, it was another game that said it shouldn't work, but it was flawless. And then what else? Oh, yeah. I am not supposed to be buying anything because of the whole move. And someone offered me a giant Jaguar collection with a bunch of box games, a box Jaguar, a whole slew of 32X games and Sega CD games that I didn't have, and probably 5 or 6 Genesis games that I didn't have. So I had to buy it. I just had to. It's one of those deals I would have been thinking about too much if I didn't take it.
If you turned it down, yeah.
And then
Are you ever going to play the Jaguar, do you think? I don't mean that like as a joke. Like, is that...
Yeah, I think so. Again, I will need a RetroTink-like device because I will be in a PAL region. So I wonder how that'll work.
Unless you bring a TV with you, which seems like...
No, because also they're on 240 instead of 110 electricity. So
it wouldn't work anyways, yeah.
And then I was really surprised that we got some social media feedback about our last episode, that magazine read of Apple II and Alien Abductions, whatever that magazine was.
Yeah, that was a weird magazine.
I'm surprised we didn't get any emails about that one. We did get a lot of emails, though. But
okay,
we'll get into
but not about that. Which, I thought you dig up some rare item like that. I really thought more people would be interested.
Yeah, or at least have some abduction stories.
Yeah, that is disappointing, but maybe none of our listeners have been abducted. My kid was just telling me that one of her high school teachers told the class about a time he thought he was visited by aliens. This is true.
What did she say? Like, what did he say?
He said he was driving at night one night, and all of a sudden there was just like a beam of light over his car. Like bright light out of nowhere shining over his car that just kind of passed through, and I can't tell if he's serious, but he was pretty adamant apparently to the class that this was like an alien, like a UFO of some kind.
It couldn't have been a helicopter, something like that.
Low flying plane,
drones.
Aurora Borealis really wouldn't make sense for, like, I'm about to like quote The Simpsons here, in that location at that time of year, localized entirely over his car.
Mm-hmm.
Like that wouldn't make sense. There was no other explanation. Migraine was actually my first thought, but because that's, if you've ever had a migraine, sometimes that's a sensation you'll just kind of get out of nowhere.
Interesting. No, I didn't know that.
So, or maybe he was briefly abducted by aliens. I don't know. Or maybe they passed up on it. Maybe he's disappointed that they flew over his car and decided, nah, we're going to take a pass on this one.
They noped out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, we do have some news items this week. Not so much news, but things that exist.
Yep. All right. I got to get to that. I got to scroll down. There we are.
Well, the first one is from councilmods.org, and there is a soft mod for the original Xbox where you don't need to actually mod it at all. I think you just need a USB stick, and that's about it. And you could run this thing, and your Xbox is modded. So, nice free way to do that. And then probably my favorite news of the week, Dreamcast is getting an unofficial Star Wars game that's a lot like X-Wing or TIE Fighter, and it looks fun.
Yeah, it is. You should rephrase that. A freelance Dreamcast developer is getting a takedown letter from Disney.
As long as I could download it beforehand. That's all that matters. But it looks great. I would have loved this back in the day. I think the next one is yours.
That's a real possibility. KansasFest will be in Illinois this year. I just thought that was interesting. It's going to be at University of Illinois this year instead of Kansas.
Do you think you're going to be able to make it?
No, University of Illinois is really not that close. I think people forget like how vertically long Illinois is.
Mm-hmm.
And University of Illinois is, it's about center of the state, but that's pretty far south still.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're getting into like people have accents territory of the state. That's just to tell you how far of a drive it is, right? Like it's getting pretty far south in the state. Again, it's mid-state, but mid-Illinois, because Illinois is it's not California, but it's, a vertical, more vertical than it is wide.
That's funny. If you drive north in Michigan, people somehow start getting southern accents.
Yeah. I saw a comedian recently made a joke about that, about like, I went north and I entered the south.
Yeah, that does happen sometimes.
But Illinois, like, northern and western Illinois doesn't have accents, but you get south of like Peoria south of Peoria is about where it starts. Peoria is still basically just like tiny Chicago, but south of that it gets sort of culturally very rural. But it doesn't. That's not the reason I don't want to drive there. I don't want to drive there because it's a very long, boring drive.
Yeah.
So that's all. I mean, I could maybe consider like I could consider like a college tour for my youngest kid, perhaps, but she's not going to do any of this stuff.
Yeah, that's funny. Let's see. Oh, Atari, the holdings company, is releasing 3 Atari 7800 cartridges on May 24th. They are releasing Fatal Run, Food Fight, and Ninja Golf, 2 of which you could play on Atari 50.
Yeah. Food Fight. Well, no, but Atari 50 does not have the 7800 version of Food Fight.
No,
Does it? It's a different. Wait, or does it? Hold on. Which version does it have? It has a couple versions. This was one thing I did see at Midwest Gaming Classic. They had a 4-player battle version of Food Fight out now.
Huh. Did you play it?
No, there was a million people around the thing. So this is the problem. The first Midwest Gaming Classic I went to was in the year 2004, so it's been 20 years I've been going. Not 20 consecutive years because of COVID and stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's been around for 20 years. And 20 years ago, this was like 4 rooms at most in the basement of a hotel. And it was neat, but there was maybe 100 attendees total. One of them, Billy Mitchell, was one of the attendees there. That was kind of, he wasn't doing a panel or autographs and stuff. He was just there.
Huh.
He was just at the Midwest Gaming Classic. Yeah. So I mean, again, he was not no one people at Midwest Gaming Classic probably, on average knew who he was, but I bet he's not a household name today, but he's more well known today than he was in 2004. Yeah. So he was just a dude. And you're like, oh, it's that Pac-Man dude, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was about your reaction to it, to Billy Mitchell in 2004.
Yeah.
So, but now it's it's just so incredibly crowded there now.
If they had an option where they open it up 2 hours early for you or 2 hours later for everyone else, let's say there is
they do that
100 tickets that are double the price.
Yeah, that's what they do. They do that already.
Would you do that?
No, because I'd have to get a hotel out there to make it worthwhile. Either I have to get a hotel or I have to wake up at some weird time.
Well, it is good they do that.
Yeah, they do, because it's funny. I decided to get in a little bit later because I thought there would be fewer lines even if you pre-order tickets, you still have to go through the line to get the wristband and stuff, and it takes a while. But yeah, when I got there were already people leaving. People who, if you're going there to get some kind of rare-ish item at the vendor hall, you do have to kind of get there early if you're after something. If you're after your Box Jaguar. I don't think I saw Box Jaguar the entire time because I'm sure someone who had the early access bought it.
Yeah. I mean, the last retro game collection, or the last retro game convention I went to, had 0 32X games, not one.
Oh, there were a ton of 32X games there. Absolute ton.
Yeah, it was really strange.
But anyhow, you gonna get any of these? I have a Food Fight cartridge already. I don't have Ninja Golf. I don't have a physical Ninja Golf. And I have to look if I have Fatal Run. I know how bad that is. But
I don't have a 7800 or a 2600 plus, so
okay.
Atari 50 is good enough for me.
Yeah. I mean, I have a functional 7800. So,
but speaking of the 32X, there was a 32S Castlevania that almost came out. At least I think work started on it. It was called The Bloodletting, and it used at least inspired sprites from Rondo of Blood. And I would have loved if this came out. Maybe it would have moved a few more 32X systems.
No. No, I mean, once the Saturn came out, the 32X was dead.
But
pretty effectively.
Is there a... Oh, it looks like there's an unofficial version of this that you could download. I'm on YouTube right now, and it looks okay. It looks pretty good, actually. It looks better than Rondo of Blood. Huh. There's a link at the bottom of this article, which is on timeextension.com. I will probably have to get this ROM before it gets a takedown letter.
And a couple more things here. Oh, one more thing. Someone buying a game on a 3M disc in a plastic bag.
That's part of this story. So the Williamses had a 1980 game called Mystery House.
Which I played. It's fine.
Yeah. And apparently they didn't sell many of these, so it's extremely rare, and it's just this one floppy disk in a bag went for $4,000 on eBay. Which you're really just paying for the sticker that's on the floppy disk because there's probably bit rot on that.
Probably. And, there was a whole controversy about a lot of old PC games on eBay actually being fakes, being repros.
Mm-hmm.
There was someone who had been doing a very good job making, like, replicas of, like, old versions of Ultima and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I would be super hesitant to buy any old game off eBay that I feel like if I saw a PC box, I could tell whether it was original or fake. But on eBay, you just have the photos. I don't know, man. Now, I'm looking at this person's store. They have a lot of, like, Apple II weird hardware and stuff. So maybe I see, like, they have issues of Avalon Hill Gamer magazine. No, that's not the games. That's the actual old newspaper. But they have, like, Apple II, like, ROMs.
Mm-hmm.
Like ROM chips and boards and some other weird games. So I guess something called Select a Port for Apple II. I don't know, what is that? It looks like a light switch. It's weird Apple hardware. So maybe this is just someone who used to own a bunch of Apple stuff, or their kid, or they just got lucky at an estate sale.
Oh, I should not be looking at this because I'm not supposed to be buying anything.
Yeah, don't buy stuff.
Well, that's a great price on a 2GS. Wow.
Don't
And
buy the 2GS.
That is our news, and we do have a topic this episode.
Yeah, so by coincidence, luckily Zach put a note in our show notes document of things having major milestone birthdays this year. And we noticed that right around the time we'd be recording, Super Metroid turns 30.
Yes. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm sure you've heard of Super Metroid.
I assume most people have, yeah.
Yeah. So what are your memories or thoughts about Super Metroid?
First of all, this is one of my favorite games. I've always really liked it. I was actually working at the game store when this game launched. So back then, pre-orders were kind of non-existent, and midnight launches were pretty much non-existent. So it was just like a regular, like, it came in when it came in kind of deal. Of course, it sold extremely well. I mean, there was a lot of hype. I remember we had a lot of signage, and some of the signage I took home after we were done with it. And one of my coworkers, I remember, bought Super Metroid like whenever it came in that day. And then at the end of the day, we were going to take out the trash, and he actually threw his bag with Super Metroid into the trash compactor.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It survived. I mean, the box got a little bit flattened a tiny bit. But overall, it survived. He did have to jump into the dumpster after it was done compacting to try and fish out his new copy of Super Metroid. The thing I remember about Super Metroid is I feel like this invented speedrunning. Maybe it didn't invent speedrunning, but it's the first game that I remember you were timed on your completion. Like Metroid, you were timed on your completion, but you didn't know that.
Yeah.
But here there's an explicit timer in the game. And I remember people actually talking about their Super Metroid times. So, again, speedrunning didn't really exist yet, but this was sort of the I don't know. Would you feel like this is the birth of speedrunning?
I think so. It's between this and Super Mario Brothers, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I mean, Doom was maybe the thing that... Doom is the first game that I remember seeing sites dedicated to speedrunning about. So, yeah, if anyone did a history of speedrunning, I think Super Metroid has a pretty important chapter in that book.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Sorry.
Oh, no, I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah, I mentioned I actually have a Super Metroid in-store display on my wall over here, which I could probably sell for at least 4 figures.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point, I was at one of the Midwest Gaming Classics, and I bought a Super Metroid travel mug, which I don't know where that came from. It was before Etsy existed, so I don't think it's a fake. It didn't cost much. I don't know. I don't know. I think as for the game, I think it's great. It feels like kind of the right mixture of old and new content. Like it's the basic formula of Metroid with a few pretty cool enhancements, like the super bomb and the X-ray vision and all that stuff. It's maybe a little bit too easy. Like I'm not great at action games anymore, but like when I played that on the Super Nintendo Classic and Switch Online, I didn't have any issue at all. I like didn't come close to dying at any point while playing it. So I feel like maybe compared to like the later games, what was the one on 3DS?
Samus Returns.
Yeah, that was hard. That was a very difficult game for me.
I like that
because
game.
a lot of that. I know you're a fan of that one, right?
Yeah, a lot of people don't like that. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, it's because I was not good at the
Parry.
repel. Yeah, parry mechanic. I was very, very bad at it, actually. A couple other things here. If you're familiar with Overclocked Remix, the music site, I think like their first year of existence, they were 80% Super Metroid remixes.
That sounds about right.
And then I mentioned that I had to go back and look at my own archives. Exactly 10 years ago, I got a second copy of Super Metroid, like, dirt cheap. Like, there was a box of Super Nintendo games at a garage sale, and I gave them $15 for everything.
Nice.
Which included boxed Super Metroid, which I ended up giving away. I ended up giving it to someone who was recovering from surgery and bedridden. So I already got a box copy of it, too. And, we may be able to debate this later. I don't know if I'd like it better than the original or not. I think it's a better game. Like, it's sort of, technically superior. But I tend to play the original more, probably because it's a lot shorter.
Yeah, that one's pretty easy to hop right into. Yeah, when this came out, I did not buy it. I got my Super Nintendo pretty late. I got it with the Link to the Past bundle. And so when this came out, I thought, I love Metroid. The first one's perfect. Why would I want more? It's already flawless. And that's kind of a rare thing for me. If I really like a game, I wanted to have a few sequels. And so I first played this for Game Club. And I like everything about it. It's a fantastic game. It's graphics, it's sound, it's gameplay, everything. Like you said, it's objectively a better game than the first Metroid.
Yeah.
And I've beat it twice now, and I do watch some, Twitch speedrunners every once in a while when I got nothing else to do. And I think I like it. I think it's an equal to the original Metroid, which is not a popular opinion. I probably like Metroid Dread equally as well.
Okay.
I think they're just all, I don't know, great in their own respects. And not many games achieve the loneliness, the aloneness that at least the first, probably all the Metroid games do. I think that's what they do best. And the only thing I think feels really janky in it is the speed boost. Well, there's probably two things. So there's the speed boost, which I just don't get it. Like, I could get running fast, but when people are running and hopping all over and saving that boost, it like you said, those card games and stuff, you just don't get. I just don't understand this mechanic, and it's like in so many of the games. It just does not feel right to me. I just wish it was a button that you pressed. And I, right now, am playing Metroid Zero Mission for the first time, which feels a lot like this game. I actually feel like it's a bit of an upgrade from Super Metroid.
Okay.
And, of course, that game is a remake, remaster of the original Metroid. And that is also 20 years old this year. It came out in February 2004 in North America and in April in Europe.
Were you playing that on?
The Pocket.
The Pocket, okay.
Pocket. Yeah. And it feels really good on there. I'm really enjoying the game. I actually just beat Mother Brain, and I'm going through the Chozo ship right now. I just got the Super Bomb, whatever it's called.
Okay. It's probably just called Super Bomb.
Probably. And I really don't know which Metroid game I would pick as my favorite, but Super Metroid, I mean, it's got to be one of the best games ever made. So, there is a homebrew Super Metroid I wanted to point out for the Mega Drive called Space Hunter. And it's definitely not as good as Super Metroid. It's probably not even as good as Metroid, but it's still cool that it exists. There's a YouTube link on here. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts between those three Metro games? Maybe put in Metroid 2 on the Game Boy in there.
Metroid 2 on the Game Boy, I was like, that was a game I actually didn't finish. Because I think it has does it have an auto map? I can't remember now. But at some point in the game, I just got lost. Like, because you only see so much of the map at any given time when you're exploring.
Mm-hmm.
At some point while playing the original Metroid 2, I just got lost. Like, I don't know where to go. And I ended up, I guess what you would call rage quitting at the time. But it wasn't really rage quitting. It was more like boredom quitting. Like,
You were done. Yeah.
done. I just couldn't figure it out. And maybe I'll play that on the Pocket again. Maybe I'll get some maps on the internet. I was playing this pre-internet, so
Yeah.
I didn't have maps or anything. So, like, that was a little bit disappointing, perhaps. Original Metroid. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, while you're talking about Metroid 2, see, I didn't play that one, and I had a Game Boy. And again, the way I saw handhelds back then, and kind of now still, is that, like Metroid, Mega Man, in many respects, the first Mario Land,
Yeah.
I didn't want much to do with them because they just seemed like lesser games than the console equivalent. And
Yeah.
I had a console, so if I was going to buy a Game Boy game, I wanted it to be written specifically for that system. So, like, I know Tetris wasn't written specifically for it, but it was perfect on it.
Yeah.
That Kicks game, a few other games that just felt right on the Game Boy. And so I wasn't going to buy Metroid on the Game Boy because it just wasn't going to be as good,
Yeah. Yeah. I think I just wanted... I think I just wanted a new Metroid game at that point in life. And, which again was be like, I don't know, I was 18 or something. I don't know however old I was when that game came out.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted a new Metroid game. That was really it. And Super Metroid was still probably a ways off at that point. So, yeah, it was, again, I don't think it's a bad game. Maybe I'll play it on the Switch or analog sometime and see if I can get through it. It's, a little bit slower. Like, the action's a little bit less than original Metroid. I think Samus Returns, the 3DS one, is a remake of that, though. I think it's kind of the same map.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a remake.
But yeah, Super Metroid, yeah, because it just seems like there's not much I would improve on with it. Maybe the guy'd get rid of the wall jump mechanic. That part's kind of frustrating, but I don't think you have to use it to finish the game. Like, wait, do you have to wall jump to beat the game?
Maybe that's something that speedrunners skip.
Yeah, because there's also that weird, like, super jump.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like the super jump negates the need for wall jump, but whatever. I don't know. You got any other final thoughts of Super Metroid?
Have you ever played Metroid Dread?
No, I've not. It's on my backlog spreadsheet.
Yeah, I would definitely play that one. That is a great game. But yeah, happy birthday, Super Metroid and Metroid Zero Mission.
That reminds me, I was driving the other day. This is me getting off topic.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes like when kids have like a birthday party, their parents put a sign up in the yard, happy birthday, your happy 5th birthday, Rob. I know no one having a 5th birthday is named Rob, but you understand what I'm getting at. I was driving by the other day and there was one, it was, happy birthday, I don't know, Crystal, I don't remember the name, but it said 30th. And I was like, who's doing the kitty signs for the 30th birthday?
Now, do you
I
do
could see 80 for that, perhaps, but not like I think that's one of those where it's like when you're really young or really old. The yard sign.
Yeah. Well, do you do the thing for your daughters when they graduate high school? You put the picture of them out front.
No, we don't do that. My oldest daughter graduated during COVID, so she didn't even get a graduation. Her graduation was canceled.
I remember when I was graduating, I asked my parents to not do something like that. Like, I understand you're proud of me. Just, I we don't need a sign with my stupid picture on it.
Yeah, they did. My parents definitely would not have thought to do that, so it's fine. It would never have been a consideration.
But we do have some game club.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to do first?
We'll do yours first, because it's first in the show notes.
All right.
Then I won't lose my place.
Well, I did Lode Runner. It is probably the... I'm going to get so much hate mail for this. I think it's the game that got platforming correct.
Okay.
So, what was the first one? Space Panic, is a puzzle platformer. I'm talking specifically puzzle platforming.
Okay.
Donkey Kong was next. I don't know if that one's really puzzle. Maybe the Cement Factory a little bit. And then Lode Runner. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's arguably the best of those three. And so you run around as this guy, and you can somehow dig, and you're collecting gold. And on a lot of the games, on a lot of the ports, it's kind of robots that are chasing you. And, there's ladders. You can fall without taking any health damage, any deaths. And so as you get trapped by these robots, you press a button and dig into the ground, and they fall into the hole, and then you can walk over them. But if you fall into your own hole, you die. And if you're on the bottom floor, if you're higher, you just fall through the floor. And the whole point is to collect all the gold and then go up to the next level. And I played this on the NES and the TurboGrafx, PC Engine. They both played similarly. Surprisingly, I liked the NES graphics better, but I liked the PC Engine gameplay just a little bit better. I first played this on the Apple II. This was one of my first video games I ever owned. And it was actually pretty good on the Apple II. I think I was in third grade, and this is not an easy game, so I was definitely not very good at it. Yeah. But even back then, it seemed pretty advanced. Like, I knew it got certain things right. And while Googling for this game, I proved that I'm an idiot because I kept spelling it Lode instead of Lode. But I had a lot of fun playing this. Again, I played it on the Pocket, and that was a good way to play it. And I would recommend this. This is a game that you could pick up and dive into. There's a password system. Of course, on the Pocket, you have save states, so try to get as far as you want. And this is one of the first games with a level builder, which admittedly I did not try because I don't care about level builders. I want to play the actual levels. But I could see if you only had a few games and this was one of them, it could definitely extend that value. But what did you think about this one? And did you know or play this, when you were younger at all?
No, I never had played this before.
Really?
Maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I never played it. I remember seeing it in a magazine. It was in magazines like constantly, old video game magazines. It's impossible to read an old video game magazine and not see an ad for Lode Runner.
Yes.
But I never played it. So I played the NES and TurboGrafx versions. Mm-hmm. I was surprised how different the art style is.
Which did you like better?
I think I like the art on the TG TurboGrafx version a little bit better.
Okay.
The NES game is very cartoony. I mean, like, clearly they're trying to make it look more like a kid's game or a game for kids, not a kid's game, but something.
Yeah.
The more cartoony type of characters you would see on the NES. And the TurboGrafx looks more like I'm a robot and being chased by other robots in some sort of, battle theme. Mm-hmm. The NES version was a lot easier, so that's what I ended up sticking with. Though they amped down the difficulty quite a bit in the NES version. Like it's kind of the same pattern, but I guess it just feels like those robots, whatever it is that's chasing you, just seem easier to trap in the NES version. Which kind of is on brand because like Nintendo at the time would probably tell, I think Broderbund did the port to tone certain things down. Really, I just felt it was a lot like playing Mappy.
It's not it's not dissimilar from Mappy. It
Yeah.
definitely has some same qualities. What did you think about the enemy AI? Because they don't always take the quickest route to get you.
Yeah, and I think that's good. I like that because actually gives you a chance to survive.
Yeah, it's kind of like I could be wrong, but it almost seems like a few of them have different AI than, like, they don't all have the same AI. Kind of like, Ghosts and Pac-Man.
Yeah, exactly. Like Ghost and Pac-Man, right? So they're different. They're definitely different different AI algorithms. Some will chase a little more, others are a little, I wouldn't say random, but kind of move in less predictable ways, or less intelligent ways. They're not chasing so much.
Yeah, I mean, that mechanic actually makes it feel a little bit like Burger Time too, where you're moving your character to kind of get the guards, robots, whatever they are, to do what you want them to do, to go the wrong way. But yeah, so did you like this game? What do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was all right. I don't know that I would play it a ton, but I thought it was fine.
The developer of this game, Doug Smith, who passed away 10 years ago, he has credits in Lemmings, Final Fantasy VII, Secret of Mana, Chrono Trigger, and Secret of Evermore. Now, some of those are probably, doing the U.S. version of the game, or maybe he's just typing in the English characters. I don't know. But I thought that was a pretty interesting mix of games. I was surprised that the developer of Lode Runner worked on Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, I'm trying to look this up on Moby Games here, but it keeps sending me to Lord Runner. Like, you gotta see the autocomplete on Moby Games here. It's because I'm doing what you did. I spelled it Load. Oops. You got it in my head. I spelled it the wrong way too now.
That's funny.
Let's see, credits. So this is the guy, Douglas
Smith.
E. Smith.
Yeah.
Okay. The very early 80s headshot there. Yeah.
Yeah, he does have some glamour shots for sure.
Executive producer. So he was, we say executive producer. So he was on, so he's like an executive at some publisher now. That's what that means.
Yeah.
Because producer just means you get your name on. You may not have done anything on the game.
Yeah. You're a project manager, pretty much, right?
It could be, yeah. It depends. It depends on the company of the game, so I'm not gonna understate what he did.
Yeah.
Mine Runner, but yeah, his credits are very impressive all the same. I mean, obviously all the Lode Runners, but then worked as programming on like NBA Showdown and some Game Boy games and whatever. Yeah, pretty impressive resume.
And I don't mean to make light of him passing away, but this is the first time on Wikipedia that next to his, it died date, that's literally what it says, 2014, it says citation needed. As if like was he lost at sea? You know what I mean? Like, why? I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Oh, look at talk page. So, okay, hold on. I know what citation needed. Okay, so you gotta go. Date of death is unsourced. Our article says he died September 7th. IMDb says September 12th. Article says 53. The source in Computer World, a different one, says 54. Nobody actually knows. The only reliable source is a brief post by the company who bought the rights to Lode Runner, and all they say is they recently learned of his death, which is meaningless in terms of when he died. I can find no obituaries. All the other sources are not reliable.
Oh, that's
I'd go
sad.
Computer World, but they seem to get his age wrong. Well, or it could be he decided maybe he's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, wow. If anyone of our listeners knows anything about this, please email us. I'm very interested now. I really hope he's okay now. I have hope.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that he made a bunch of money and he is just off. Yeah, and really, it's just in an article called In Memoriam, People We Lost in 2024 on Computer World.
But he died in 2014.
Yeah, sorry, I meant 2014.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's a year that ends in 4. I was
yeah.
Yeah, so it's a list here of people who they heard of dying in the year 2014. So I don't know that it's a fact that he is not alive.
Oh, that's so interesting. This could be made into a documentary now. I feel that
he could be alive and well somewhere, just living in the Caribbean or something.
with his Lode Runner money.
His older, yeah, I suspect it's not. I mean, looking at his resume, I suspect it's not a trivial amount of money.
Yeah,
that he
yeah.
has.
Well, anyway, what game did you do?
Oh, I lost track. I was just thinking of what I would do if I was going to fake my own death. I did Adventure for Atari 2600. I'm trying to get through my queue of games that I don't want to forget talking about. Adventure is ranked very, very high on that list. So for the show, I did a playthrough on level 3, which is the most random and likely most difficult level. I ran into dragons right away and had 2 chasing me until I got cornered. So I died right away. Second time I got lucky. The sword was right near the beginning, and all 3 dungeons were right near all 3 dragons were right near the beginning too. So I quickly killed all 3 dragons, and then once you've killed all the dragons, it's just a matter of hoping the bat doesn't leave something in a place that makes the game unwinnable. That can happen. The bat can sometimes take a key item, and now you can't finish the game. But the games are really short, so it's not like you're 80 hours into an RPG and you get to some kind of unwinnable state, right? You're 5 minutes into this adventure game.
Or a King's Quest game, King's Quest 5, and you forgot to throw the boot at the rat or whatever.
Whatever, yeah. So here it's just, the bat put the key somewhere where you can't reach it now. Sorry, game over. Game modes 1 and 2 are kind of good intros to the game, but mode 3 is really the only one that I think is worth playing.
What's the default mode?
1.
Okay.
Which is fixed. That's really the tutorial stage. Like, there's a fixed way to win that one. And like, obviously I like randomly generated games. I like the chaos of games where there's a lot of randomization.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool. Now, it's funny, I did not own a 2600 until I had already owned a Nintendo and Genesis, and even then it was the 7800.
Okay.
But Adventure was the first game for the 2600 library that I actually really got into. Going from like Genesis to 2600 is kind of a weird leap. I had Intellivision, obviously, but 2600 games generally look pretty crude compared to Intellivision games. But like Intellivision doesn't have, it has games like Adventure that are a little more advanced, but Adventure is just so like simple that it's, the Intellivision equivalent would be like Cloudy Mountain.
I don't know that game.
Or it's called Crown of Kings now, I guess. And that's not really like you play it for like 3 minutes kind of game. Like it's a bigger game. There's obviously more to it. I might actually like Adventure a little bit better because it's just so simple. Like you just fire it up, play for a few minutes, and that's it. I watched the tool-assisted speedrun, which is pretty hilarious.
Yeah, so it sits there for a few minutes for some reasons. It's a strange speedrun.
Yeah, so they open the gate to the Yellow Castle to win. Then they get eaten by a dragon. So the player is dead at this point, right? But being dead isn't a game over in an adventure. So they sit there, and eventually the bat flies the trophy into the castle to win the game.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm like, that's pretty good. I respect that. And I am going on a limb and say that this is my most hated bat in any video game ever.
Can our next topic be video game bats?
Yeah, we can do our most hated video game bats.
I love this. Is the best topic idea ever.
Yeah.
That is happening.
I don't know if there's a single game where bats are a welcome enemy.
No.
I think they're the worst video game enemy ever in general. But yeah, let's do it. Our top however many most hated bats in video games.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't played this in decades. I owned this when I had my first 2600. And I haven't played it in a long time for the same reason that you said that you didn't really get into other 2600 games because once, NES and then 16-bit systems existed, I wanted nothing to do with the 2600 for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And then even getting back into it for this podcast and, when I set up my old arcade in my old house, playing video games alone, I would play games like, I don't know, Hero or Jungle Hunt or something if I was going to do the 2600. I never thought of playing Adventure too much. And I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it. There's some frustrating parts, like you said. It could be unwinnable, but again, it really doesn't matter because it's not a long game. And again, I played this on my Pocket, and that was a great place to play it. What are you going to play next?
Another game for my I don't want to forget about it list. Shadowgate. Point-and-click adventure Shadowgate. It's on many different platforms.
What are you going to play it on?
I usually play the NES version, but I have the Pocket now, and I have the Game Boy cartridge, so maybe I will play the Game Boy version. It's all the same game.
Interesting.
But I don't think I've done I bought the Game Boy one. I don't think I've ever played the Game Boy one.
Yeah, you're right. It is on so many systems. I'm going to play Daxter on the PSP. It's from 2006. It was the first game I had on PSP, and I want to revisit it.
Okay. I don't think I have this game, so I'll have to come up with some way to look at it, or I'm sure there's some good speed runs on.
And it also might be like 79 cents on the PlayStation game store, whatever it's called.
Yeah, it might also be super cheap, and has it been ported? It's not been ported to anything. Well, I don't know if it's going to be super cheap then.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Strange. But yeah, we do have some feedback this episode. Let's see. Dale writes in and just wanted to say, wanted to let us know that Computer Gaming World magazine was his favorite magazine in the early 90s. And he also thanks us for talking about Computer Shopper. That thing was a beast. And yeah, it was. We somehow we have to figure out how to have a Computer Shopper episode. We got to figure that out.
I can't do a page by page read through, but
that would be like 7 episodes long. But remember, listeners, that Jason Scott on archive.org recently just digitized a bunch of issues of it. So definitely look for those. And Kevin writes in that first thing he thought of about our discussion from The Verge about modernizing your retro collection using NFT stickers is an alternative idea that I think you mentioned with a barcode scanner, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he wanted to bring our attention to this RMC Retro. It's a YouTuber that operates a retro computer museum in the UK, and I've seen this guy, yeah. And one of the hosts of that channel and another podcast that he listens to also is leaving podcasting along with you, Hugh. So that's three of his favorite podcasts.
Yeah, someone did ask me about that at Midwest Gaming Classic yesterday. Someone I ran to before, and it's funny when I talk it through, it actually just becomes more clear to me. I said, I don't want to be in a position where I'm quitting podcasting because I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I'm probably about a year or two away from just, being like, burn it all down. Right.
Yes,
like it's been 15, like I said, I've been doing it for 15 years, and yeah, eventually it's going to be like something I just despise doing. So I don't want to get to that point.
And also by next year, with you giving up podcasting, you might be the only person left in America without a podcast.
I might be. Yeah. It would be weird, but I'll get by.
You'll have to be all of our Patreons.
Yeah.
And but Kevin goes on, he's talking about it's called Funny Playing FPGBCs. So Funny Playing Game Boy Color. And it's a reproduction Game Boy Color completely from aftermarket parts that runs on an FPGA chip. And it comes as a kit, you assemble it yourself, and he's deep into really being into this thing.
Okay.
And it's cheap. It's
It's
$70 from China. So an Alibaba special, but it seems like a really cool project.
Yeah, I'm looking at it because it has different color shells too. So you can buy it in different colors. Looks like a, yeah, I mean, it does because like the battery looks like an listed off-the-shelf battery. The board is probably the only part that's proprietary. I mean, in the case, I think they're using a lot of parts you could probably, the speaker and the battery I'm looking at, you could probably do yourself. The following components we need to purchase separately. Oh, you can't put AA batteries in it. Game Boy, you need to bring your own buttons. That's interesting.
Strange. Yeah.
So I have a broken original Game Boy. It's just dead. I know the Game Boy is supposed to be indestructible. I have a dead one. So I guess you could use this if you had all the other working parts of a Game Boy.
Oh, interesting. That's
They
a good
sell
idea.
buttons like they sell buttons for $1.90. So that's one option. It's neat. Yeah. I mean, I probably, because I have the Pocket, I probably won't do it, but it's neat.
See, for me, the Game Boy Color, again, was something I didn't care about because it didn't seem like an upgrade to me. It still wasn't backlit, which is a big deal for me. Even the Game Boy Color exclusive games didn't feel more modern to me.
Okay.
Like, it didn't feel like it had a color screen. It felt like it had a screen that could display 2 more extra colors at once, which I know it's a bit more than that, but that's just what it felt like back then. Let's see. Yeah, Kevin, Daryl, yeah, thank you both for those emails. Jimmy writes in, Adventure is the single most favorite video game of all times. And he also has podcasts, the Pie Factory podcast, which he said that might spoil what the next episode is about.
Okay.
And he says, if you think about it, Legend of Zelda could be considered an adventure deluxe. It takes the original formula and expands on it. Every adventure game owns a debt to Atari's Adventure and Rogue. Which is probably mostly true.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, Zelda doesn't have like the randomization. I know people have written Zelda randomizers, but yeah, it would be a tough game to That's a tough game to randomize in a way that doesn't make it unwinnable.
And that also has annoying bats.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, less annoying though. Like when I made my little random, tower game, that was it was very important to me that it could not produce an unwinnable state.
Yeah.
And that's a relatively simple use case. Like something the complexity of Zelda would be very hard to make, to guarantee that it only produces winnable game states. Zach, the guy Zach that does volunteer work for our show, wrote in about Super Metroid, which is weird. He says he loves Super Metroid, but he's less hyped on it than most people were back in the day. First time he saw it was a summer break in college '94. He was at his friend's house. He said, check it out. There's a sequel to Metroid. He doesn't think his friend knew about Metroid 2, but decided not to correct him. He then proceeds to show him starting just before the Mother Brain fight. So spoilers immediately. But it did make him want to play the game. He likes that. I especially like how the story almost isn't there. You get a little bit of story at the beginning and a lot at the end. And the whole baby Metroid reveal. Yeah, because it's sort of like what I like about the Metroid reveal is it's that the Metroids aren't inherently evil, is what they kind of spoil in that game.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
His complaints from the second half of the game. Meridia is very frustrating because it's not obvious where you have to go and there's a lot of traps. The underwater parts are too sluggish without the gravity suit. The one thing that bothers him most is the spot in Norfair where you can't backtrack. You go down a long passageway and there seems to be no way out. The X-ray visor doesn't reveal anything, but then you can just walk through the wall to the left.
Yeah, that's something I want to bring up too. Yeah, Metroid Zero Mission has similar things too. That drives me crazy. And then also, what about the missiles? Like, so there's that one type of door that has a symbol on the top, one of the sides of it, usually the left side. And so you shoot it with a missile and that opens it, right?
Yeah.
It took me forever to realize that you didn't have to be on that side of the door in order for that to work. You could be on either side of that door and shoot. I didn't know that, and it didn't seem obvious to me, so I
Because
just
there
ran.
aren't doors like that in the original Metroid. Right?
Yeah, I just ran back and forth for a long time.
Yeah. I guess there are parts that are confusing, but I don't really remember getting stuck in it even back in the day. But Zach says his new favorite is Dread. As ridiculous as the story is, he loves it. It's a close second for story, and he would like to see Super Metroid remade in the Dread engine.
Agreed. It's such a beautiful game, too.
And then Majors, who I just ran into yesterday, sends in some feedback. He's asking you if you're interested in selling your collection to someone in the Winston-Salem, North Carolina area.
Well, if he wants a Tron and a Star Wars, I got those.
Yeah, he asked a little bit long-term storage, but you're planning to go to Australia like forever, so long-term storage probably. If you were there for like, I'm going to work on a contract for 5 years.
Yeah.
That's a little bit different. Wonders if Can It Run Vice City is going to be the new benchmark instead of Can It Run Doom.
I like it.
Yeah, I don't think so, but it was interesting to see. Castle of Shikigami. We're trying to figure out, we call this a top-down horizontal shooter, but it's really more of a vertical shooter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You move left to right, but the screen moves up and down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess it just moves up, right? It's a one direction. Muscle memory of playing games. I talk about that about, how I can still remember where every secret is in Zelda, even if I don't play it for years at a time.
Mm-hmm.
He's the same for Castlevania with him, which I get. He can get behind our opinion that Super Mario Bros. 2 US is the best Super Mario game.
Yes.
I think a lot of people like Super Mario World because it was a pack-in game for the Super Nintendo, thereby being their first game. So I think people love Final Fantasy VII because it was the first RPG a lot of people played.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm not trying to make fun of millennials, but I think if you're a millennial, there's a very good chance Final Fantasy VII was like the first RPG you played. So let's see, Far Cry. There was did we talk about the 2008 Far Cry movie?
I can't remember. It was so long ago when we recorded.
I know, it was almost a previous year. As for the TV show, if it's anything like Ubisoft's Captain Laserhawk, it should be fun to watch. And he also used to pore over every ad in Computer Shopper while looking for thinking about building a PC. Yes, we should do a Computer Shopper episode.
Yeah, we got to figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of maybe mid-90s, I'm hoping.
Yeah, early Pentium, late 46, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Early Pentium, late 46 would be a good time.
And then we got some social feedback. Lode Runner, let's see, someone writes in, says he's tried to play it a bunch, and he's tried different ports and sequels, and he is not good at any of them. Mm-hmm. Let's see, Metroid turns 30, or Super Metroid turns 30. Played it for the first time in 2019, which is probably when I played it for the first time, on the SNES Classic Edition, and absolutely loved it. Someone else says it's a little bit clunky compared to the newer games in the series, but it's still an all-time masterpiece and one of the best games ever, and severely overpriced for a mass-produced game, which that is a good point.
It's true, yeah.
A loose copy now runs about $150.
Yeah, again, I was just at this convention yesterday where there's a lot of vendors selling mass-produced games for quantities you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, what was it? Xbox games. A few years ago, I started my Xbox collection, and those are skyrocketing right now, which I don't know why, because I think they're all in the Microsoft store. Let's see. Someone else writes in, a lot of things make me feel old, but this one really makes him feel old. He never got into speed running, but likes watching those. Took him 27 years to figure out how to do the wall jumping correctly. I still don't know if I know how to do that. And then one person gave us social feedback about the Alpha II and Alien Abduction episode, that he was a Boys Life subscriber back in the mid-'80s. He also had the sea monkeys and the chameleon thing. And let's see. No alien abduction so far, but did see a ghost when I was a kid, and he enjoys the podcast. So,
Okay.
that's right, because it was like the ads in the back of that magazine were very Boys Life, and I think it had a Boys Life ad back there. And the next question of the episode is the best and worst in-game maps. And yeah, thank you everyone for writing in. Again, our email address is email@retrogameclub.net. That is email@retrogameclub.net. And I usually announce that email address earlier in the episode, so I don't know how many people made it this far into it.
Right.
We have a link tree and all of our socials that Zach runs. And I think that about does it. I don't know.
Yeah.
What...
So.
Oh, sorry. I was
Oh,
gonna...
right. Yeah. Don't forget to play the Game Club games this week.
Yeah, absolutely. What are they? What do we got?
Daxter and Shadowgate, or watch a speedrun if you don't want to play them. Many times, if you've listened for a while, I will just watch the speedrun because I don't have a copy of the game.
And I'm hoping we get one more recording in before I move. If so, it'll probably be on a cheap microphone, my built-in Mac microphone, and then maybe an episode or two that we've already pre-recorded after that till I get settled in a new house.
Wait, do they have Wi-Fi on the airplane? You could be really obnoxious and we could record.
That's right. Could you imagine?
Actually, it's airplane Wi-Fi doesn't get you general internet, though, does it?
So
Or is this on a flight.
over the Pacific, at least the last time we flew there was no internet. It was
Okay.
really annoying.
Yeah, when I went on my little spring break, there was Wi-Fi on the plane, but it just got you to... It's basically so they don't have to put screens in the seats anymore for movies. Because they know everyone has a phone now. So instead, you stream the movies off the airplane Wi-Fi. But it's not general purpose internet. It's just
Local.
music and, here you can watch the first episode of Ted Lasso or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of whatever nonsense. At some point, we can talk about worst movies we've seen on airplanes. I've got some real bad ones. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.